Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to cover how to disassemble and reassemble a Glock slide, so the upper receiver of your Glock. Reason being why I'm doing this today is I'm swapping out all the parts in my slide just for preventative maintenance sake, right? I've got about, we'll say 15,000 rounds-ish, a little more on this gun. That's the only thing I've really swapped on it was the recoil spring assembly. But you know, Glock itself, Glock Inc. does not provide any recommendations on when to swap parts. It's mostly just word of mouth or other people that tell you what they recommend. I kind of do my own research and figure out what works for me. Maybe I'll post some of those recommended times in the description or comments on this thing. But as of Glock itself, they do not recommend, don't provide any recommendations. All right, even at their Glock Armors course, which I took earlier this past year. All right, so let's get into this. So first things first, all right, verify everything is unloaded, no magazine, yada yada. All right, press checker in safe direction, remove slide, take your frames, throw it off to the side here. I'm behind the camera doing this, so again, it might be a little more difficult. I might have to be off camera for some of it, and I will probably stumble and bumble on some of the names of this stuff, because as you guys can see, there's a ton of different names. Some of these are really goofy, like the extractor, depressor, plunger, which is this fancy guy here, so work with me if I stumble through some of these. All right, so we're gonna take off our recoil spring assembly. Big thing is to take all of your old parts, so I'll just use this little piece of tape, throw it somewhere where you're not gonna get mixed up with the new parts. All right, it should be easy to tell with the wear marks, but some of them are not, so make sure you're doing your due diligence there and being smart about it. All right, so only thing I need today is gonna be this Glock tool. You can use a Glock tool, which they're pretty cheap, they're like 5 to 10 bucks, or you can go to your local hardware store and get a 3/32 or a 1/16 punch. All right, I'm not a very mechanically inclined guy, but gun parts, not too complicated. First things first, all I'm gonna do here, if you guys can see where the firing pin is, this little silver piece, there's a spacer sleeve. I'll try to get on camera better here. Right there, I'm going to press forward. You guys can see there's a little void there. You can kind of hear it too. I'm gonna press that forward as I move this rear cap off. So put the pin there, push down, and this slides up. There's spring tension behind this, so make sure you have your thumb covering this. All right, what's gonna come out is two things. The firing pin assembly, just pull that out. All right, again, set that off the side. This other spacer sleeve may come out with it, and I'll tell you what to do with that in a second. Just leave that here. So take this, throw that in the old pits pile, and take your extractor depressor plunger, the EDP. I'm gonna call it the EDP from now on because it's a freaking long name. All the way out. There's a little bit of burr on this one, which looks like it's just, throw that to the side. Then I will take my extractor claw. One way to get this one out, you guys can see the firing pin safety assembly here. You're gonna press that down, and then this extractor claw will just come right out. Okay, and the reason being, if you guys see inside here, right, when that firing pin safety is engaged, right, there's a little block there, and then once it presses down, it can release this guy. Just so you can kind of food for thought there. All right, then you take your firing pin safety. That should pop right out. If it doesn't, pair of pliers will pull that thing out. This one needed that earlier. Just go to a little bit more one. This internal spacer sleeve just goes right back inside this chamber area. Sometimes it comes out, sometimes it does not. Not a huge deal either way. You can just throw that right back in there and it slides in. Right? You can clean inside that without it. It's very hard to get that out if you need to get it out. It doesn't need to come out. Sometimes it will, just with a worn firing pin assembly, but that's all it goes back in. All right, so you can do all your cleaning if you needed to, right? I just recommend dry cleaning for the internal parts, especially for the firing pin channel, right? You don't want to get any oil in there, right, and build up gunk or solvent, stuff like that, okay? All right, so we'll do the easier stuff first. So we'll take our EDP, our firing pin safety assembly, which is the spring and the safety itself, and our extractor claw. All right, so starting with the extractor, the firing pin safety and spring, so the assembly, we're going to drop that right back in there. Like I said, make sure you take a peek, look that it's clean, or relatively clean, and drop that in there. Right, it should be able to go up and down without issue, which it does. All right, take your extractor claw. It only goes in one way, so if it doesn't click, you can always flip-flop it. This one is correct, and that it'll be locked in there. What gives your extractor claw tension, right, is the EDP itself. So this guy, right, when it goes into this, make sure you're putting the solid ends and the non-spring end towards the extractor. And you'll kind of see on the side of that little silver piece that'll stick out. You'll see it in a second. When it's time to swap your extractor, it's probably a good practice to replace this piece as well, because this is what actually gives tension to this piece. So even if this claw, right, maybe the metal on it is wearing it down, it's got crazy carbon buildup, and it's just whatever, it's been used and abused, this actually gives it tension, right? So sometimes it's not the claw that fails, it's the spring tension from this. So whenever you swap one, just swap the other. Not an expensive part either. All right, so this goes right into that slot. All the way down. It will stick up slightly because spring tension, and now you guys can see that little silver piece there. Right, no big deal. All right, moving on from that, nice and simple. Your firing pin assembly, which will also include the firing pin spring, the firing pin itself, the spring cups, and the spacer sleeve. This was I just filmed another one of these. Another set of this, and it was really pain to try to do this on camera, so you can probably find a better video of how to put this piece together. All the difficult portion is getting these spring cups. The spring cups come in two pieces. They're two little plastic cups, and you guys can see them here when I pull down this sleeve, the little black pieces. There are two pieces in there, so in order to get those on, you have to put this portion of the firing pin on a hard surface, pull down on the spring all the way, and then that's little two-piece black cups will go inside and basically retain this spring onto the firing pin. All right, like I said, really big pain in the ass to do it on camera. I couldn't do it on the last take of this, so is what it is. You can find another video on how to specifically put that on, but like I said, not very complicated, just hard to do while being behind a camera doing it, okay? So in the spacer sleeve, you guys can kind of see the open end, right? Once you slide this over first. So how to set this apart, you're gonna put this piece on first, which is the spacer sleeve, from front to back all the way through, and the open end portion, right, goes towards the tail end, right, which allows this little back piece of the firing pin to go through. Then comes on the spring. After the spring, you're going to retain that spring all the way down and put the cups on. All right, like I said, you can find a better video for that, but that is a firing pin assembly. And I'm a little long-winded on that one. It's been a long day. All right, put that right back in to where you found it. All right, make sure it seats. Both of those will stick up slightly, and that'll get covered by the slide cap here, slide cover. All right, so from here, putting it back on. Sometimes this is easy, sometimes a big pain. Again, on camera, it's always harder. So I'm just gonna push this on. I found a flathead screwdriver, does pretty good with this, but I don't have one on hand right now. All right, so make sure you put it on the right direction, right? So this little, right, less clean looking side's gonna go towards the gun, and the cutout portion will be on the bottom. So press the spring tension on the firing pin assembly. Right now we got that EDP sticking up, so I'll just take my Glock tool, push down on that. And hopefully this just slides right in, which it does. All right, the easiest portion, right? If you're doing a barrel swap, which I don't think is necessary at 15,000, some guys will go 30, 50, whatever it is. I'm not there yet, so I still have, this holds a decent group. So I'll take my old barrel, throw that in, take my new recoil spring assembly. You can always check on the bottom, they'll have numbers on them to verify which caliber they're for. So make sure you're getting the right parts on this. I'll probably put all the parts numbers on here just for ease for you guys. This is a Glock Gen 4, but the Gen 5s, Gen 3s will be all the same in the internals of this, so no big deal. Just make sure you order the right part for it though. Some of them are different, but the assembly is exactly the same. From here, this will connect to this little crescent moon portion, if you guys can see this on camera. There's one notch here, and then a second notch a little bit lower. The second notch is what this portion, the rear portion of your recoil spring assembly goes onto. It kind of sits just like that, okay? So tip goes into here in the retaining portion and snaps right in. Kind of give it a look. It looks horizontal. It should not look on that second ridge, which will like kind of be angled up, right? Make sure it goes all the way down into that ridge. Okay, then we take our frame, line it up. All right, make sure it locks back proper. All right, give it a couple checks, make sure the trigger resets. All right, all bueno. Alright guys, if you have any questions about this, I know this wasn't the most in-depth video, but just wanted to show you. I wanted to get some preventative maintenance out, so I figured I'll just make a video while I'm doing it, right? Again, any questions, let me know. I'll probably do a part 2 for the frame / lower receiver, so I don't have like a 30-minute video. Alright, take care guys.